For this segment, consider it more like a part two, even though the topic's a little different. But like I'm gonna basically state what I said in the previous video, and I've been saying this for a long time, even before the Democratic debates even started. But I am not a big fan of 20 candidates running for the presidential nomination for the Democratic Party, because it seems really excessive. We're talking about an incumbent president. An incumbent always has the advantage. Obama had this advantage in 2012. Clinton had this advantage during his second run for presidency. Trump will have that same advantage. Trump is already the president. Many people, generally, it's very hard to topple down an incumbent. It can be said the same thing for a House representative. It could be the same thing about a senator. It could be the same thing about a governor in a state. If they're an incumbent, chances are they going to win. That is not 100% guaranteed, but they have a higher chance of winning. Now, talking about 20 individuals running against an incumbent, that's pretty bad. You would expect to see this amount of individuals when there is no incumbent. I would expect to see this amount of individuals running for the presidency in 2024, not in 2020. But apparently that's the problem. And the thing is, again, this is another article from Business Insider, and I agree with this title 100%, because this literally, like, out of all the 20 people, I can tell you this right now. There's someone from listens to politics a lot, okay? I listen to a lot of politics. But even then, I can't name you every single candidate because there's just so many. And many of those individuals are a bunch of nobodies. Now, for the moderates, imagine that. If someone like me can name every single 2020 candidate right now running for the Democratic nomination, can you imagine a moderate? Someone who doesn't even pay attention to the news as much compared to me? I'll tell you this right now. Before I even read the article, I'm going to tell you who are the individuals who are running for 2020 that I can name from the top of my head. Joe Biden, obviously, because he's been on the news a lot. Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, Bernie Sanders, Andrew Yang, Tulsi Gabbard, Marianne Williamson, Bill de Blasio, Beto O'Rourke. I'm barely at 10. I don't even know this. I don't even know. I don't even want to repeat any other names. But that I can barely name half. I just named half right now. The other 10, I don't even remember any of them. All I know is that this guy kind of looks like, I don't even know. But I can remember faces, but I can just remember names. Oh, and Julian Castro. I forgot. Make that 11. Julian Castro. See, but that's the thing. Talking about individuals where there's so many that even I can't name all of them. Even then, I just stumbled upon naming Julian Castro, even though I just mentioned his name earlier. But that's the thing. You see what I mean? Moderates are not that interested in politics. They just want to live about their lives and just do what they need to do without doing it with all this drama. I'm one of those people, but I still listen to politics anyways because I think it's fun to watch. Nowadays, it's become I consider more like a drama or reality TV type of thing. But that's just me. Anyways, the articles from the Business Insider. The title reads, there are 2022 Democratic presidential candidates, but it's really only a 5-person race. Yes, 100% yes. 5 individuals, the top 5 I can tell you right now is going to be Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, and usually Elizabeth Warren. I would say those are my fellow assumptions because they're the ones who are polling very high right now. They're getting the most news coverage. And not even Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg is propping himself up. But really, as of right now, I only care about those 5, and even then those 5 are a bunch of left-wing nut jobs. I think out of the 5, only Joe Biden is probably the most centrist or the most moderate. But the dude looks like he doesn't want to be there, so why am I going to vote for someone who doesn't even want to be president, or at least looks like he doesn't want to? It's like giving the job to a teacher that doesn't even give a damn about his job to begin with. You know what I mean? But anyways, I'm going to read the article. I must take a few breaks here and then to provide my own opinion. And after that, we'll conclude the video. The field of Democratic presidential candidates all vying to unseat President Donald Trump from the White House in 2020 is historically massive. While there are 24 legitimate candidates, it's more or less a 5-candidate race by realistic measurements. Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, and Pete Buttigieg. So Cory Booker's not on there. Okay, maybe I was wrong. But I was actually expecting Cory Booker. But anyways, keep going. What each poll shows, whether in a national scope or narrowed down to specific early voting states, is that only a few candidates emerge at the top of the field, while the remaining dozen and a half candidates barely crack 1%. That is bad. You're talking about 20 individuals and 15 of them can barely get 1%? Why don't you just leave? Like, you're just wasting your time. I don't know if at this point you're talking about just trying to make money and get name recognition, but that's just sad. If 1% of the people in the polls, assuming, again, I'll tell you what it is. A poll essentially is a representation of the country. Not all the country, because again, polls can be accurate. They usually, I think, a 2% plus or minus, accuracy, accuracy when it comes to the polls. But assuming that assuming that every single person was asked this question, 15 of the 20 say only out of 100 people, one person is going to support them. That's really sad, and that makes me wonder, why are you still in the race? Tulsi Gabbard, I'm sorry. I like the way you talk. I like the way you are actually fighting before this presidential nomination. But you gotta admit when defeat when the loss is lost. And I would expect this from someone who's in the National Guard, because you gotta know when to retreat. You really do. If you're losing a battle and it's clear you're not gonna win, why would you bother sacrificing all these soldiers and then in the end lose anyway? Tulsi Gabbard, please, I get it. Look, I know. I support you. I support you as much because you're probably the most sane Democrat on the race. But you've lost this one. I like people like Andrew Yang. Let's say I think it was like Tulsi Gabbard, Bill De Blasio. I don't like Bill De Blasio, but the point is, if you're polling at 1% right now and they're talking about a Democratic candidate, well, just leave. You're just wasting everyone's time at this point. Tulsi Gabbard, like I said, I'm sorry. I really am. If you're a Tulsi Gabbard supporter like I am, I hate to say it to you, but she's lost this one. I doubt she's going to win because the DNC clearly doesn't like her. The media has been calling her a right-wing Democrat because apparently she's not as left-wing as the other nut jobs like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. But we have to admit when she's lost. We lost this one. Settle back, return, just go back home. Not really go back home, but I'm talking about is like, just stop what you're doing. Just stop what you're doing. Go back to doing what you were doing, which is representing your constituents, and then come back in 2024. At that point, you'll have a bigger chance of not only winning, but at the same time you won't have any incumbents, so it'll be a lot easier for you to win if you got the nomination. But that's what I'm saying. If you have 1%, just leave. There's no point in you doing this anymore. You're basically beating a dead horse. Consistently, each poll paints a similar picture in which Biden holds a commanding lead, which has slimmed down a bit since he underwhelmed at the first primary debate in Miami, followed by a mix of Harris, Sanders, and the resurgent Warren. Buttigieg has maintained a strong swing after emerging from obscurity into an unlikely front-runner. No candidate has overtaken Biden in the Real Clear Politics polling average. None surpassed Sanders until this month, and when both Warren and Harris received a post-debate bump. Buttigieg hovers over 5% as well, which is light years ahead of the rest of the field, struggling to get the mandatory 2% in 4 separate Democratic National Committee approved polls before the August debates. Former Representative Beto O'Rourke of Texas started quite strong, but in recent months has seen any traction, all but evaporated. The dude, he's like, I'm gonna take a break here. Watching the debates the first night, Beto O'Rourke was essentially like the Jeb Bush of the Democrats. Whenever Republicans in 2016 they wanted to get a huge bump in their polls, they just attacked Jeb Bush. Trump clearly did it. Ted Cruz did it. Marco Rubio kind of did it. But Jeb Bush was like the punching bag for Republicans. Beto O'Rourke was the punching bag for the Democrats in the first debate. And this dude was bruised. He was battered. I was like, you know what? Throw in the towel, Beto. It's clear they're gonna go after you every single chance they get. But this dude right here, Beto O'Rourke, he started quite strong. He seemed pretty badass, and then next thing you know, the guy's getting pushed around by everyone. He doesn't look as tough as you thought he was gonna be. But I'm venting a little bit here. But anyways, let's keep going. It can be seen in the fundraising halls as well, with elite candidates ranking in multi-million-dollar halls each quarter, while the rest fight for just enough donors to qualify for a spot on the primetime debate stage. And the upcoming fall debates have much more strict criteria. Like I said, I don't consider it strict, but they consider it strict. For the first two, candidates will have to achieve 2% in 4 separate DNC-approved polls and receive 130,000 individual donations and 400 donors in at least 20 states or U.S. territories. Like I said, I don't consider it strict, but let's keep going. When the bottom dozen or so candidates cannot even crack 1% in most polls, the prospect of building a following to cultivate tens of thousands of donations becomes quite bleak, and getting cut from the debates could easily be a death sentence for an already fledgling campaign. There is still time for candidates in the rear of the field to generate a polling surge should they have a breakout performance in a debate or garner attention through other means. But the field is already shaping up to be one of the most But the field is already shaping up to be one that has a top tier and a much more crowded bottom tier. The 2016 Republican presidential primary played out in a similar fashion. There were 16 total candidates all told. Just a few led the pack for the run of the race. When voting finally began, it became clear that the field was only really comprised of Trump, Senator Ted Cruz, Texas Senator Marco Rubio, Florida, and then Ohio Governor John Kasich. The other candidates, like I said, the Republican Party, obviously there were more than 10, there were 16, but, I'm venting later, but there were 16 individuals, but not as bad as 20. And even then, the Republican Party in the primaries in 2016, they had the same type of characteristics. Trump was leading it. Ted Cruz was leading it. Marco Rubio and John Kasich were leading it. People like Jeb Bush was a joke. I didn't care about what Jeb Bush had to say. The dude was a huge punching bag. You know what I mean? So again, you couldn't really care less. Like I said, 20 individuals out of the 5 people. Again, I agree with this article a lot. 5 individuals out of 20, and they're the ones who are leading the charge. They're the ones who are the one getting all the donations, getting all the support because they have name recognition, or they're seeing huge bumps in the race because of the things they've done before the debates or even after the first debate. Anyways, let's keep going. There were a lot can happen between now and the first caucuses and primaries in early 2020. But if the top 5 Democrats maintain their dominance among both donors and polling, it could quickly mirror the 2016 Republican race, where more than a dozen presidential hopefuls burned through cash and traversed the country only to drop out once the voters' interest was registered at the ballot box. And that concludes the article. But here's the thing: the polls say one thing. They really do. Polls are not really always accurate. When it comes to the caucuses and primaries on the route to the 2020 general election, it says a lot. If you say you're polling at 15% and yet you barely get any votes in Iowa, because again, the Iowa caucus and the New Hampshire primary are the first ones in the presidential race. If you're polling at, let's say, 15% and yet you don't get any supporters in Iowa, that kind of says something about what you could potentially be in every other state. Polls are not always accurate. That's one thing you always keep in notice. Polls are not always accurate. Look at Hillary Clinton and Trump. People were saying, well, Trump is going to be Trump. Hillary's going to be Trump by a landslide. There's no way Hillary can win. If you see this, 40% of individuals support Hillary, 20% support Trump, and and the remaining 40% are undecided. So there's no way Hillary can win. There's no way Hillary can lose. Guess what happened in 2016? She lost. Because polls are not always accurate. I don't take polls at face value. I always consider, is this accurate? How accurate is it? What was considered? What was the demographic? That's what I always consider. When, for example, let's say if I read a poll tomorrow that says 90% of Trump supporters, 90% of Americans believe that Trump is a racist, and yet the poll was taken in a heavily liberal city, I'm gonna question it. Because a lot of individuals who are liberals, they do not like Trump simply because he's Trump. However, if you were to say, well, 40% of individuals think Trump is a racist, and the polls consisted of California, of Wyoming, of Kentucky, of New York, I consider it it's a more accurate poll. Because you're talking about 2 liberal states usually. Wyoming and Kentucky, I think they're more like moderate swing states, I think they are. I don't know if they're red, but I'm pretty sure they're not Democrat in many cases. But the point is that I question polls based on their authenticity. If you're telling me that 90% of Democrats believe in, 90% of Democrats believe in free healthcare for all, and yet the poll was taken at UC Berkeley, yeah, I'm gonna question that poll. I'm gonna question whether or not that poll is actually accurate or not. But that's the thing. I got about 20 individuals. 5 of them are are standing out completely. The other 15 are barely making it. So this is the thing that I've always been saying. This is too much. Too many candidates. Many of them are standing out. And I'll say this from the previous video as well. If I were to put you on a stage in front of thousands of people, and I told you, I need you to find your girlfriend, you're going to have a hard time. Why? Because there's so many people to look around for. There's so many, not to mention some people wear the same color clothing. So you're going to have a hard time. 20 candidates for a moderate, that seems like a lot. Even for someone like me who's into politics a lot. 20 candidates is still too much. Like I said, I hardly find anyone who stands out. Tulsi Gabbard, she stands out, but unfortunately she's not going to make it. I don't think she will. Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, they're standing out, but they don't represent my ideas or my beliefs, so I'm not going to vote for them. Joe Biden is probably the most centrist out of the top 5 that are in this race, but the dude doesn't look like he wants to be there. He really doesn't. Like, the dude, he looks like he just doesn't want to be there. He looks like, please, I'm just doing this because I was told to do it. Kind of like that, that high school kid who's only going to school because he's supposed to and he's forced to. And they ask you, why are you going to school today, Timmy? Because I have to. Same thing with Biden. Vice President, former Vice President, Vice President Biden. Yes. Why are you running for president? Because I have to. It's pretty much how it is. Biden doesn't look like he wants to be there, so I'm not going to vote for a guy who doesn't want to be there. That's pretty much how it is. You're not going to hire someone who doesn't look... You're going to hire someone for a job, Are you gonna hire the person who wants to be there, or are you gonna hire the person who doesn't want to be there? I'll hire the person who wants to be here. I'm not gonna hire that guy who doesn't care about work, who doesn't care about his job. Of course not. Same thing for Biden. I'm not gonna vote for Biden despite him being he's a little bit more moderate compared to everyone else. But I'm not voting for a guy who doesn't want to be there. It looks like he is. I don't know if he really wants to be there or not. But his body language, his tone of voice, the way he talks, the way he's acting, it doesn't look like he wants to be there. That's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Do you agree with this article? And to some degree, do you believe that even though there's 2 dozen individuals in this race, only 5 are actually making the top, or actually the ones who are actually matter? Do you agree with this title? At the end of the day, do you think that any of these individuals, the top 5, are gonna have a chance of beating Trump? Do you think any of the people who are the low tier, do you think they have a chance of being bumped up for tonight's debate? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. If you liked the video, smash the like button. Share the video, because again, YouTube has deranked independent commentary. So you sharing the video and liking the video does help out a lot. But at the end of the day, you can just subscribe, hit the notification button as well, that way you never miss an upload. And I hope you guys have a good rest of the day, you guys. I'll be watching the debates, luckily, because I'm off at 5 at work today. Thank you. But like I said, I don't know if I'm going to be watching the debates all fully, though, because like I said, the first debates were a huge letdown. I wasn't really impressed. I like Tulsi Gabbard, but I don't know. Maybe I'm praying. I'm not a religious person, but I'm praying that Tulsi Gabbard makes a huge bump, because I really want her to win. I really do. She's probably the most sane individual there. I don't agree with her on everything, but compared to everyone else in the stage, she seems like the most common sense type of person. She really does. But that's just my opinion. Anyways, you guys, hope you guys have a good rest of the day. I'll probably do a video about the debates if I get the chance for tonight's debate and the one afterwards. Hopefully I get the chance. I'm not saying I can't guarantee you anything, because again, I do work and my schedule's a little bit, wonky sometimes. But I'm gonna watch the debate tonight. I'll let you go. I'll let you know how it went. But anyways, you guys, if you guys can't watch the debates, like I said, it's 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern time. If you're in the Pacific Standard Time, usually 6 p.m. to 8. But if you guys are gonna watch, I'll let you guys know on a future video. Hopefully, that is if I get the chance. Alright, guys, have a good rest of the day. Until next time, you guys have a good and stay awesome.